Today's second video for you. Firstly, an Eritrean diaspora organization has held an assembly in Germany, in Frankfurt. This assembly was held. Eritrean Council General in Germany was there in this assembly. Eritrean diaspora is kept busy by Eritrean embassies abroad. These Eritrean diaspora members contribute a lot. Eritrean economy relies heavily on the foreign remittances sent by Eritreans living abroad. Second news story is from the Somali region of Ethiopia. Head of Revenue Department of the region spoke a short while ago about the repercussions of Tigray conflict, its economic consequences which Somali region suffered, financial implications. We have some details for you. Region's response to drought has been weakened because of Tigray conflict, and perhaps because of the ongoing operation against Oromo Liberation Army as well, because Somali region shares border with Oromia too. Thirdly, Ethiopian government forces claim that they have discovered a weapon cache of Al-Shabaab in a border area. And lastly, very important news story. We know that banking service was suspended in Tigray in November 2020 when a war broke out. Since then, there has been no banking service in Tigray, no internet as well. Now, Tigray government has taken some decisions. It seems that Tigray government intends to establish a central bank like Ethiopia, like all countries have central banks. Tigray is a region, not a country. It seems that now it wants to establish a central bank. It has passed some orders, some financial directives, which could be a source of conflict. We could see business community and some other factions in Tigray oppose these financial directives. Which financial directions have been passed by Tigray government? We'll try to analyze. Firstly, viewers, we have a new story from Frankfurt, Germany, where Eritrean youth organization held a general assembly there, a conference there, a meeting. Eritrean Council General in Germany was part of this assembly too. More than 100 Eritrean diaspora youth participated. In April, we saw an assembly by YPFDJ, Youth People's Front for Democracy and Justice, hold an assembly in Rome, Italy. In that General Assembly, if you remember, Eritrean ambassador to Ethiopia, he specially traveled to Rome to participate in that gathering. Now, another gathering in Frankfurt, Germany. Eritrean government, Eritrean embassies abroad, they keep themselves engaged with the diaspora community because diaspora community contributes a lot. Eritrea relies heavily on foreign remittances sent by diaspora community. And secondly, when it comes to supporting or opposing Isaias Afwerki's government in Eritrea, Eritrean diaspora is split, viewers. There are several factions. Some factions do support the government, like the ones that send large amount of money to Eritrea. There are some factions which are backed by Tigray, and some factions which want to remove Isaias Afwerki's government as well. So Eritrean diaspora community in the US and Europe, it's split. That is why we could not see any serious movement against Isaias Afwerki government abroad as well. If we saw protests against Eritrean government, we saw protests in support of the government as well. Now, a second news story is from the Somali region of Ethiopia, where a government official spoke about the devastating consequences of Tigray conflict. Mohyuddin Abdi is the head of revenue department of Somali region. He says that Somali region's response to the ongoing drought has been weakened because emergency fund has been allocated for security purposes. That's alarming verse. Emergency fund, which should have been used to alleviate drought, it was redirected towards security forces. Why? Mohyuddin Abdi Farah says that Eastern Command of Ethiopian National Defense Force was deployed along Somali region, Somalia border areas. It's a long border, more than 2,000-kilometer long border. It was being guarded by ENDF's Eastern Command when a war broke out in Tigray, and Tigray forces entered Amhara Afar regions. Eastern Command was removed from these border areas. It was moved towards Amhara Afar Tigray. And regional forces, regional militias, they had to be deployed along Somali region, Somalia border areas. That is why this deployment of regional forces, militias, required funding. There were new recruitments as well. So emergency fund was used, which should have been used for drought. It's alarming. More than 1 million cattle have died in the Somali region so far due to the ongoing drought. And second conflict which is being ignored is the ongoing operation against Oromo Liberation Army in Oromia. OLA is in Oromia, operation in Oromia, but we know that Somali regional forces, they became part of this operation in early phase of the operation. And we saw movement of Somali regional forces towards Oromia, towards the border areas. So once again, this conflict will have economic repercussions for the Somali region as well. Revenue could not be collected because of drought. 2 billion Ethiopian birds could not be collected because of the drought. No economic activity to generate this revenue. So conflicts will worsen these other humanitarian disasters like droughts. That is why if you don't put an end to conflicts, these humanitarian crises in Somali region, in Oromia, they'll worsen. The government, regional government, federal government, they'll have to put an end to conflicts first, armed conflicts. Then they can completely focus on tackling these humanitarian disasters in Oromia and Somali region. Thirdly, viewers, Ethiopian government forces claim that they have discovered a large weapon cache on in a border area. I think it's Somali region, Somalia border area. Government forces say that the weapons were buried by Al-Shabaab. Some persons have been arrested. 50 AK-47 have been recovered. 10 RPG, 50 guns have been recovered by government forces from a Kabyle, from a Wareda called Bare Wareda, Afdir zone. Close to this zone, in border area, these weapons were buried, which Al-Shabaab fighters were planning to use in some activity against Ethiopian government forces. That is what is being claimed by government-backed news sources. If you remember, 3 days ago, we reported an attack on Ethiopian military convoy in the Somali region, close to border areas. Ethiopian state media did not give coverage to it, but the attack did happen. Now, the state media is giving coverage to this news story that weapons have been recovered from some areas close to Afdir zone of Somali. Lastly, Tigray government has taken some key financial decisions. How will these decisions be received in Tigray? How will business community in Tigray receive these decisions? Will business community comply with this decision? There is no banking service in Tigray. In November 2020, when war started, Ethiopian government stopped all banking services. Tigray is cut off now. No internet as well. And Ethiopian government is not allowing free movement of cash into Tigray as well. Even aid agencies, they are being allowed limited amount of cash. So Tigray is not receiving any cash from outside, and Tigray's assets, Tigray people's assets in other banks, I think they are still frozen as well. Now, what Tigray is planning is that, what we have heard is that Tigray intends to establish a central bank. Like all countries have central banks, state banks or national banks they call it. Tigray is a region, but since it's under siege, banking services are not restored so far. So it is now planning to create a money pool. It wants cash. It wants capital. And for this purpose, some financial directives have been passed. Mibrahatu Malice is the coordinator of this financial forum. They call it financial forum. And the purpose of the establishment of this financial forum is to raise money for this forum. It means that Tigray government wants the people of Tigray, the investors, the businessmen in Tigray to deposit money in the bank or with this financial forum. It has been directed that no Tigray person will have cash more than 100,000 Ethiopian birrs. Limit has been announced. No cash more than 100,000 Ethiopian birrs. What about business community? Business community will be allowed to have cash between 150,000 to 500,000 Ethiopian birrs, depending upon the nature of their business. Cash more than that will have to be deposited in the bank with this financial forum. Cash will be transferred to this financial forum. These are very tough decisions, viewers. A question was, will the people of Tigray, will business community, will they deposit the cash if they have cash? Some of them would be in possession of millions of Ethiopian birrs. And secondly, some efforts are underway that assets, financial assets, cash of Tigray business community abroad and in other Ethiopian banks be transferred to this financial forum. We're calling it financial forum. It's a bank, you can say. It's a state bank, a regional bank of Tigray. How will money from abroad be transferred to Tigray? That is a question. Tigray is cut off. Tigray is not connected with the outside world. And secondly, will Ethiopian government allow transfer of cash from banks to Tigray? That's also a question. So focus will be on the available cash in Tigray. Tigray business community is being urged to sacrifice for the people of Tigray to deposit their hard-earned money. Problem is that there is instability, still instability. Anytime there could be start of armed hostilities. So, in this time of crisis and instability, will the people of Tigray, will the businessmen of Tigray, will they trust Tigray government and deposit their money, their cash in this newly established bank? That remains to be seen. Thank you for watching.